marketing specialist at BindTuning. BindTuning is one of the leading platforms for building, connecting, and engaging internet workspace in SharePoint, Office 365, and now with Microsoft Teams. On today's webinar, we'll be exploring Microsoft Teams pain points and how to start mastering it. Presented my colleague, David Ramalho, is the BindTuning's SharePoint developer. Please mind, this is a high-level introduction to Microsoft Teams. And of course, on this webinar, you'll be learning what does Teams do better than the Skype for Business, how to create and organize your projects, and explore integration capabilities and features of Teams. Of course, you can, during the meeting, request a demo that will be on the panel right now that I just put the link there. And just a little housekeeping before we start. If you have any questions during the presentation, please type them on the chat window in this meeting channel, and we'll bring them up at the end of the presentation. And of course, we'll have more or less 10-15 minutes for questions, but you can always come to us after the meeting and we'll answer all of your questions. So I think, David, it's up to you now.
Okay, so first of all, hello everyone. This first slide that I am showing is mostly so what you have on Skype for Business, or what you had so far, and what is available on Microsoft Teams. For example, on Skype for Business, you'll have notifications. Mostly, when you receive someone trying to chat with you, you have the regular chat. You have a way to access a calendar and see the next events. You have a way to call, and you can record the sessions that you have with your clients on your desktop. With the Teams, you have all of these features. Recording is a bit different. And then we'll have also other capabilities like you have OneDrive integrated, you have all the Office 365 apps, you have Teams, Teams inside Teams. You have a possibility to create custom apps for Teams, and more will come over here. And what we'll mainly talk will be the Teams. So the Teams, typically, depending on the organization, they can be 3 different ways. They can be stacked as departments, they can be stacked as projects, and they can simply be as teams. For example, if you have a HR team that is that you have a task on them, you can create a team, and that team will just share files between them, the communications on each individual subject they will have. Over here, the example that we'll show, and to give you like an introduction on this, we will be Megan. Probably most of you already know Megan. Is our marketing manager in this case. The team that is responsible for is sales and marketing, and the project will be Microsoft Ignite 2019. It's nearby, and she will be closely work with persons on booth. So which staff will be on booth? She'll be the main contact between every single one on this organization, and of course he also joins in the sales, and on the sales she is responsible for set calendar for the salesman's talk, the meetings on this event. So right now I will jump to share my screen. On my case, what I'm going to use is the browser. You have, of course, a desktop application that you can install on your PC. Over here, just because it's easier for me to actually go to the browser. And this is also a benefit. Why? Because you don't have to install all these softwares. And what I mean by all these softwares here is that when you have Microsoft Teams, with that you'll have access to Word, Excel, Planner, Teams, Calendar, Calls. Every single option of these will be available on Microsoft Teams. So starting from the activity point, what we have over here is what and where Megan was recently notified by. Over here, we can see at the top that this wasn't notified by this particular team. We have as well then a messages between her and an administrator, which he as well has a tag on that. And this is the first big thing on Teams. You have a way to actually check the feed and the most recent activities that you are mentioned on, and you receive message on, you'll be notified. The second part, it will be the chat window. So the chat window, what we have over here is when you will receive a message, you will have the possibility, of course, to like or dislike. And this is a regular chat one-on-one. You are talking with a person. Of course, over here we can have more people, but most of the use of this chat will be to type on one by one. In this case, and of course, depending on the user, you have a way to check which files you share with the person. So for you to make that, you have over here a tab which you can check the files. And if you share any file with this particular user, it will be listed over here. This is a great benefit because when you on Skype for Business at the beginning, when you share a file with someone, it will be maybe lost, and over here everything is stacked over here. Moving on for the next point will be these teams, and for the teams and over here what I have is a number of people that are responsible for sales and the marketing department. And most of the scenarios that we have over here is as typically everyone that wants to chat and to send a message globally to all this organization, they can tag the entire sales department, and they can also tag individual persons. But if you need to target the entire department, you just have to make @ and type the name of the team, and then you can notify every single person. What's going to happen is they will receive a notification, and this will be red saying number 1, and then people can see what is going on, what they need to do for their regular activities. Over here, you also have a way to create channels. And over here, what we're gonna create, because we're gonna to be an event, is creating a new channel, which is gonna be Microsoft Ignite 2019. And every single communication that we will have for this event will be shared on this particular chat. And in case that we need to check any record, we can use, for example, this search command, or we can even come to this channel and just scroll up and down and check all the messages that are assigned to this particular with this particular subject. What you can do as well is you will have a way to share files between all the members. So you can actually have them directly to here. They will be stored inside Microsoft Stack, and you can use them and edit them in a regular basis. What I'm gonna do over here, because when you go to an event like Microsoft Teams, typically there are people that are responsible for the project, and what I'm gonna use over here is a web part, a custom web part, to show you the flexibility of Microsoft Teams. And what I'm gonna do is over here I will make responsible for this particular event Megan, and another person that is responsible for this, which is Patty Hernandez. Let's make some Megan. Just miss a B. Okay, so in this case, what's going to happen is we will get the Megan, and she'll be the main contact for every single person of this. When people need to reach out for any information on the event, and they can come here, and for example, if they need to reach out by phone, they will have the number over here, which they can use, for example, Microsoft Teams to actually call the person, or if they need to send an email for Megan with any kind of information, they can send. Because besides the fact that you are using Microsoft Teams, sometimes the email is required as well on these communications. You can also over here adding files to share between the different projects. For example, if you have a route for people to, when they reach this event, to go visit certain places, they can do that over here on Microsoft Teams by creating, for example, a new tab and having this particular document with the route they need to go and do when they go there. Moving on for the next big topic will be this calendar. And over here, what we'll have is flexibility to see which events are on this particular week. Of course, we can change that for what we fits best on our scenario. Over here, you have as well the flexibility to understand the meetings details. So in this particular event is a sales meeting, which happens on the conference room named Adams. If I go to this particular one, it will be a meeting on Microsoft Teams like we are having. In this one will be with the administrator of this company. You have as well a flexibility like we have on Microsoft on the Skype for Business to create a meeting to meet right now, and you have the flexibility as well to make more tweaks on the meetings with this button. Moving on for the next topic will be these calls. So these calls are a way for you to quickly access and try to call to different persons. Over here, you will have the suggested people that based on the persons that you send a message on chat, it will be visible over here. Of course, you can make different calls and adding a new person over here. Moving on to the files, and the files is where you can check which files you recently, in this case, have edited. You can check if they are stored on the Teams, for example, like this ones. You can also check if they are stored on your OneDrive. And over here, once you click on a certain item, and for example, over here, I'm clicking on the Word, you can have a preview of that in case that you need to edit. You can make that as well. And this means if I share this with anyone from my company, they will receive an email, a document which is currently updated with the last changes, and everything will be pretty much available on the last version of document. In case that you have multiple people working on this will be definitely the easiest way. Over here, because the integration of all of this, you have the flexibility to check what is available on your OneDrive, and these are the documents of Megan. Of course, if you click any single one, it will open, and you can, depending on the item, edit them or even just preview them if you wish. Moving on for the next topic, it will be these meetings that we are currently having. And over here, for example, depending on the type of meeting that you have a lot different flexibility. For example, each time that you create a meeting with someone, you have a way to actually create a OneNote, which will be stored on your Teams environment, where you can write quick notes for that particular meeting for then later on work on the subject. Another great functionality they have added was the integration with Microsoft Stream. And with that type of integration, what allows you is to save and record this session like we are doing right now. And over here, once you start to save and record the session, in the past when you are on Skype for Business, if perhaps your light went down, something like that, or your computer ran out of battery, what happened is you lost pretty much all the recording. And with this flexibility of you to use the Microsoft Stream, you have it's stored and is being recorded by a third member, which is the global internet. And once everything is saved, and once you finish the session, don't worry if you don't receive, you don't have immediately the recording. Where is the recording? Don't worry, just sit down, relax, take your coffee. You will receive an email saying, okay, your recording is ready, and then you can make the work to save, send to the client, perhaps adding that to OneDrive and share with the client. It will be the easiest way. Another great thing about all of this is you have access to a browser, you have your desktop application, and because we are on a mobile world, everything is accessible on a mobile app. It's available for Android, iOS, doesn't matter. And there you have a quick way to see recent notifications that you receive from your team, and also doing the regular stuff. About the chat option over here, and let's say that perhaps I know that someone around the organization typed me something about the Ignite event. If I type that over here, I can actually search for that Ignite word, and over here I can pretty much then filter per message. So it will show me all the messages that contain Ignite, and you can see them highlighted over here. If I have a person named Ignite, it will be strange, but if that happens, it will be listed over here, and the same will happen for the files. If it finds any file named Ignite, it will be listed on this particular search area. So about the Microsoft Teams and a quick introduction on this, pretty much it. A lot of flexibility depending on your company goals. You have different routes to achieve what you want to have.
Okay, I think, thank you, David. It was very enlightening. So I think we have now time for some questions. We already have one here on the chat. So if you have questions, now is the time to type it on the chat window. So the BindTuning People connection is a custom development from BindTuning. David, will you call it a web part? Are we talking about implementation similar to what is done in SharePoint?
Yes, technically, what is it's a web part, but it's a web part that is extended and it's available on Microsoft Teams. In the case of BindTuning, because we started on SharePoint, all the functionalities that you have by default on SharePoint, it will be translated for Microsoft Teams. And with that, if you already have some kind of environment with a setup with BindTuning web parts, you have a flexibility to quickly get every data that you have transported to Microsoft Teams, and from there start making more and more, creating more contact. Of course, with that, I would say that typically when our products are evolving, and for sure it will come more features for Microsoft Teams. And of course, Microsoft is as well doing a great job on addressing some issues that are at the moment with Teams.
So another one, why I don't receive all the notifications on my Teams?
Okay, so typically, and maybe over here, I will reshare my screen. When you go to this particular Teams, and over here you can see that I have these notifications. When you actually over here you start typing something, some kind of message, and I just typed this, and if I keep doing that, what's going to happen is no one from this particular team will receive anything. And they will not be notified saying, okay, there is a new event that you want to have. Because what's going to happen if you have too many notifications, you'll be you will always receive these pop-ups, which for some people can be, they will have this pop-up and they will not feel confident to, and annoying to see all of that. So in order for you to actually, if you want to reach out, in this case for sales department, the best route, it will be at sales department. If you want to reach out for a specific person, you just make this on same syntax. For example, let's say that in my case, I want to reach out Patty. I will just type Patty, and then if I then send the message, what's going to happen is on their Microsoft Teams, she will be having a notification over here, and of course will pop up a window over here saying, okay, check this message is directly to you.
So the integration with other applications allowed to have, for example, OneNote already existing. Yeah, it's if the integration with other applications allows to have, for example, OneNote already existing. So I think basically it's yeah, you can answer that.
Okay, I'm back. So getting back, so when you click to add a new tab, and once you click, for example, let's take the OneNote example, what's going to happen is we'll try to reach out all the documents that are available to share with this person. And over here, for example, in this case, I can add this to the tab and it will immediately download and show over here the OneNote. And of course, then you can make the regular things with OneNote, like adding sections, then adding a page. You can also open that on the browser, or even if you are more used to have that on the your PC, you can use open in the app, and it will trigger your desktop to open app. But of course, as I speak at the beginning, if you are using Microsoft Teams, maybe you don't want to install all of OneNote or OneDrive, PowerPoint, and all that kind of Microsoft software. You can use Teams and it will integrate with everything. It will be always updated to the latest versions.
Is there a concept of a team site for everyone in your organization that is auto-populated and can be used for company-wide communications?
At the moment, no. So when you have so SharePoint and Microsoft Teams, they play on the same team, but they have different rules. So if you want to create some kind of site where every single one from your organization have access, typically you will use SharePoint because it will be easier. Eventually, what you can do is in each team that you have, adding over here a tab, which will then redirect you for the page that you want to show for every single person.
I guess this is a bit of the purpose of the webinar. What would you say are the differences between SharePoint and Teams? What use cases would you say are better for SharePoint use versus Teams?
If you are trying to integrate and if you have an internet portal, the SharePoint will allow you to have more visibility, for example, in terms of content, because you have ways to display web parts on the different components of on the page. You can add sections, you can have web parts displayed on the different ways. Over here on Microsoft Teams, it's a bit more it's not equal, because for each tab you will have just a preview of something. If you have perhaps a web site over here, it will be a bit strange. So that will be, I think, the main difference. Of course, over here you have the way to quickly chat with someone, which is great. You have as well a quick way to check the files, but when you go to SharePoint, you have more visibility in terms of if you are trying to build an internet scenario. Perhaps over here it will make more sense if you are trying to build some kind of document repository, because it will allow you to quickly access to different tools like OneNote, Word, and Excel. These are the big plays here, and they are integrated over here.
Okay, we have another one. Can you quickly review how to get the BindTuning apps to be available in my Teams instance?
Okay, so for that, first you will need to have one BindTuning subscription, which is currently you'll need to have one of the latest versions, because it was just released 2-3 months ago. And then when you go back and you install that, what you need to do is going to the global app catalog, because you will install the web parts globally, and then it will be a simple click to actually make them available for Microsoft Teams. So for example, over here, the WordTime Pro, it will be clicking over here, files. I don't have permissions with Megan, but over here you click files, and then it will be listed over here an option that says sync to Teams. It's a simple button, you click there and it will be available on Microsoft Teams. Then to have on the browser, what you need to do is pretty much click here, and then you just have the web part to the tab.
Okay, so all of the web parts that you're showing here, they work with Teams. Yes. Okay, great. And by the way, thank you everyone on the chat. You're giving a lot of insights here that they are adding a lot of content to us too. So do you have any more questions? It's the time to answer them, but of course we'll do it afterwards. So anyone? I guess not. So do you want to say anything before we wrap up?
Just a quick word to thank you everyone as well for taking the time to pass these 30 minutes with us. And for sure, I hope to have you on the next webinar that we'll have.
Thank you, everyone. We'll be sending the recording within few days for you. And of course, don't miss the next webinar that will happen in October. We'll be demystifying a bit and unlocking the full potential of Teams. Some insight and practical tips and tricks with BindTuning. It will be a little more in-depth conversation. This, again, it was a high-level meeting, so you can start using Teams and you have your pain points a bit answered. If not, you can always reach us at info@bindtuning.com. You can come to our Twitter, BindSkins, and of course, you see the latest news of Microsoft, of BindTuning app, and all of these Microsoft Teams buzz. You can request right away a Microsoft Team demo by scanning the QR code on the screen that you have. But we are always here. If you need anything else, don't hesitate to contact us. And thank you again, and see you next time. Bye.